Welcome to our technical assistance training for the Victims of Crime Act Notice of Funding Opportunity for the VOCA Legal Assistance Services for Victim of Crime program. My name is Ron Reichelt, and I am the Victim Services Programs Administrator for the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority. ICJIA has made available a minimum of $4,133,120 in VOCA grant funding for the development or expansion of legal assistance and related support costs for victims of crime. Funded programs will facilitate victims' pursuit of safety and victim-centered justice. Grant awards must be spent over a period of 12 months. Additional funding to extend the grant period will depend on both the availability of funds and project performance during the first 12 months. This funding opportunity will support legal assistance services for victims of crime. Applicants will select at least one victim group to serve from the following areas: victims of domestic violence, elder abuse, financial exploitation, human trafficking, and sexual violence. Applicants must select the victim groups they expect to work with so ICJIA can assess any gaps in services. Applicants must discuss their history and capacity to provide these services in the application. Applicants should select and describe in detail which types of legal services will be provided. These services fall into three categories: emergency legal assistance, victims' rights enforcement, and civil legal assistance. For each of these types of services provided, the applicant must explain how services will be provided, specifying if services will be provided in-house or through referral, and explain staff responsibilities. Applicants must make reasonable efforts to ensure victim services accessibility by providing low barrier screenings and intake process, services free of charge, program ineligibility independent of victim income, hours of operation and intake beyond traditional working hours, interpreter services, transportation support for clients that request this support, and applicants must fully explain how the agency will ensure these issues are addressed in the application. Applicants must fund a case manager position or similar position to serve as a primary point of contact for clients. Applicants must clearly explain the activities and responsibilities of the case manager position and how this position will interact with all clients and other program staff. Applicants will be required to demonstrate that grant-funded staff will be trained in the appropriate victim service and legal training provided to working with clients. If trainings have been selected at the time of the application, please detail type of training and include costs in the budget narrative. If trainings have not been identified at the time of the application, an explanation of how trainings will be researched and identified must be included. Costs for unidentified training should be included in budget narrative as TBD, to be determined, with an estimated cost set aside. Applicants must include trauma skill training for staff. Again, for your staff training, you're going to want to identify the training if it's been identified already. If not, put it into the budget narrative as to be determined. Eligible applicants include public agencies and not-for-profit organizations whose primary mission is the provision of legal assistance services. Applicants must be agencies whose primary mission is the provision of legal assistance services. Victim service agencies who do not meet this caveat should not apply. All applicable eligibility requirements can be found on page 14 of the NOFO instructions. Please note, as per the National Emergency Pandemic Mandatory Match Waiver Policy, no match is required for this application. Grantees will have the option of either accepting the match waiver opportunity or not. Those that wish not to participate in the match waiver, that is, they wish to include match in the submitted budget, will be asked to submit a formal declination. If you wish to decline the match waiver, include a match contribution in the budget narrative should include the mandatory 20% of all program costs. This is explained on page 14 of the NOFO instructions. A formal declination letter will be required at the time of the contract execution. In-kind match includes voluntary professional or personal services, office materials and equipment, workspace and facilities, and non-program funded victim assistance activities. Any reduction or discount provided to the subrecipient shall be valued as the difference between what the subrecipient paid and what the provider's nominal or fair market value for the goods or service. The value placed on the volunteer service must be consistent with the rate of compensation paid for similar work in the program on the labor market. Selected programs will be required to submit quarterly data reports through the OVC PMT system, as well as the submission of a series of narrative questions to ICJIA. The objectives selected during the application will be monitored throughout the grant and can be adjusted prior to the beginning of any continuation program. Grant awards resulting from this opportunity will have a target period of performance of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, 12 months. Additional funding for up to 24 more months will be awarded after the initial funding period, contingent upon satisfactory performance and availability of funds. Total funding for the grant program will not exceed 36 months. A total of $4,133,120 in funding is available, with a minimum application of $150,000 and a maximum of $500,000 in grant funding. Agencies may submit an application for each region served by their award. A map of the 5 regions of the state of Illinois is located in the NOFO instructions. Agencies submitting multiple applications for different regions must detail activities only for the region represented by the individual application, includes statement of need and demographic data. To be considered for funding, applications must be completed and submitted via AmpliFund by the application deadline of 5 p.m. May 15th, 2023. Applications that do not follow the mandatory formatting will be eliminated from consideration for review and funding consideration. ICJIA encourages applications be submitted at least 72 hours prior to the formal deadline to ensure completion of the submission process. An entity may not apply for a grant until the entity is registered and pre-qualified through the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, GATA, grantee portal located at this link. Registration and pre-qualification are required for each state fiscal year. Proposals will be reviewed by a panel of ICJIA staff and key stakeholders with expertise in victim services. Proposal selection will be made using the described scoring criteria explained on page 21 of the NOFO instructions. If possible, ICJIA will fund the highest scoring applicant in each geographic region before funding successive applications. Again, agencies may submit an application for each region served by their program. Questions may be submitted via email at the following email address. All substantive questions and responses will be posted on the ICJIA website. The frequently asked questions will be updated every Friday. Questions may be summarized to include all similar questions submitted. The deadline for submitting questions is 5 p.m. on May 10th, 2023. Thank you.